Okay, good afternoon. I almost said good morning. Oh my goodness. It's definitely not morning. Let's turn that on. All right. Happy Sunday. Hey, Gil, how are you? Nice to see you. Got the grandkids. Good. Well, thanks for listening in. Sounds great. We're having a beautiful day here in Michigan. It's beautiful if you're like me and you love hot weather. So Rebel, you get in the hot weather up near you. So we had 87 degrees down here in Southeast Michigan. And it was heaven. I'm so happy to have summer here finally. So, hey, Howie, how are you? It is so hot outside and we just had a storm rumble through and now the sun is shining. I'm still seeing clouds. I'm thinking there's got to be a rainbow somewhere. So yeah, good to see everybody. Hey, Bill, you get that rain over your way too. All the Michiganders in here, Michiganders. You got to say it with that kind of accent, that Michigan accent. Yeah, I was talking to Bill today. We were talking about trees and planting and grafting and all the things. Just can't keep up with all the things we need to get planted. So, hey, Laura, nice to see you. And yes, thank you, Howie. Best to you as well. Always appreciate seeing you. Something a little more energy, a little more pep in my step every time Howie shows up in the chat. Rebel says my car said 100 yesterday at Mitten Home Centers conference. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my God, how was the conference? Was it good? And Ganders, yes. Hey, Dr. Ron, I haven't seen you in forever. Michiganders, yes. You didn't get any rain, huh? Yeah, we had a quick downpour here. So it was good because I went and I bought some flowers today. Didn't get as many vegetables. I speak the truth, Howie. I went to my favorite greenhouse to get my plants that I normally get every year. One of the things that I get from them, it's one of the only places that I've been able to find, I just call them the big giant stinky marigolds or the big carnation sized marigolds. And they are so stinky because, they keep the deer away, they keep other critters away. And so I got 2 flats of those. And then some of the other marigolds they had are also pretty stinky, but they're beautiful, different colors. And I wanted impatiens. So I have a couple of garden beds that I plant impatiens and they just explode. And if you guys remember some of the videos I did last summer where I gave you a tour of those impatiens and how they just, man, they're so beautiful. So they didn't have them this year. They said that there was some kind of disease that they got and they're like, we didn't order any. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So I actually went up the road and he had tons of them. So I was like, I don't know what this other place is talking about. But anyway, I've been kind of disappointed with my usual stomping ground for the past probably 3 years. So anyway, I got 3 flats of impatiens and they also had the big giant stinky marigolds, which they'd never had. So nice to see some other sources from where I, really like my, what I like to get my usual stuff. Conference was amazing. Can't wait for next year. Please let me know about that next year. I would love to join that and meet up with you somewhere. That would be so amazing. Yeah, would love to hear more about that. And I got to get you on the show. We need to get you up here and we need to do a Sunday night with you and talk about some canning. And look at this. Came home with kefir, kombucha, apple trees, lotion, mug cutting board, earrings. I'm broke. It's so easy when you got such great products at places like that. They have the best stuff, don't they? Yeah, pretty cool. So, go ahead. Hold on. I'm going to type this in here. Yeah. So hit that thumbs up button for me. And let me put this here. Please hit the thumbs up button and also share if you wouldn't mind, please. And thank you. Hey, you guys, I might be, hold on. Where am I? I was at 1198 today. Let's see where I'm at. No, I'm at 1197. I thought I was at 98. So I'm 3 away. I'm 3 away from 1200. 3 away from 1200. I got to get to 1200. Oh my gosh. So amazing. So, Anyway, hey Idaho, nice to see you. Taking a short break from building raised beds. Bill and I keep talking about I need to put some raised beds in my yard. And boy, it's just, yeah, it's got to be. I would love to hear how you build your beds. You probably have a video. I need to jump over there. Are you doing a video on that? Thanks for jumping in, by the way, and thanks for taking a break and jumping in here. I appreciate that. What I wanted to talk about today, so besides gardening, because as I start to move into the gardening season, it's what I love to do. It's what a lot of you love to do. A lot of, I have a day job. I'm, chiropractor by day and avid gardener by summer, right? Not by night, but by summer. So I love my flowers. I love, growing food. I decided I'm not doing squash this year. I over squashed myself and I just don't, I stopped eating it. Like, and even, I was even preserving it. I was freezing it, dehydrating it. And it just stopped being great for me. It's just one of those things. There's a lot of other vegetables. I'd like to do more root vegetables, potatoes, a lot of different, I'd like to do some golden beets, the candy cane beets, the red and white ones would be great. So I'm going to do a few other, unique things like that. But so anyway, so you all know that is a passion of mine. And so I want to bridge the gap. First of all, make sure that you tune in to Reset Monday tomorrow. So what I did, I actually pre-recorded Reset Monday. So I apologize if you all love me live on Monday. I did that for tomorrow and I'm doing that for next Monday. And the reason is just because things are a little chaotic at the office, because I'm going to be out of the office a little later this week. And I wanted to be able to make sure that I still brought you something of value and that you still had your Reset Monday. So it's already pre-recorded and the topic is preventing injury in the garden. And this is going to go a little bit with what we're talking about today. I can talk a little bit about it, but it's really about, making sure that you don't hurt yourself. And because we're outside and we're getting exposure today, I really want to focus on the sun exposure and the sunscreen and cancers and autoimmune issues and chronic health and all of these things that we've been told, and avoiding the sun and live in darkness and all of that. So we need to actually have that conversation because we're going to have more exposure to all of that, starting now or in the last couple of weeks. So I should have given you my squash. I know. And I'm not talking hard squash. I love hard squash. We're talking like the summer squash, the yellow squash and the zucchini. I literally am like, I might gag now if I have to think about eating it. I won't. I mean, I would eat it. But my whole point is I'm like, I just ate way too much of it. Do you ever do that? You ever just eat too much of one food because you loved it so much and then you're like, oh God, I cannot. So Stephanie says, I haven't done a video. I bought several kits from a local Buy Mart. It came with 4 sides made of Western red cedar, came with the screws, not as fancy as the ones from Epic Gardening, but good. I should check out Epic Gardening. I did have one. I'm trying to, let's see. What was that? I'll find it. But they had one because I'm on the text. Team Grow. This was, who is this? Team Grow. I think he was on Garden State Gardener's show. And so I subscribed and he's got these raised beds. They're like these troughs. This is what you were talking about. Bill and I were talking about like these kind of troughs like that. So yeah, he's got those. What's his name? JP. What's his name? JP something. Anyway, if you know it, put it in the comments. So 3x6, $69.99. That's not too bad. Prepper 101 says, I saw the title Friend or Foe. I thought this was episode about mother-in-laws. Oh boy, you guys bring the mother-in-law jokes. Hey Kenny, how are you? Nice to see you. Good to see everybody. Let's see. Yeah. Where are we at? Saying hello. Yep. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for being in here. But yeah, thanks, Stephanie. I'll keep that in mind. And so let us know how those kits go and do a video on that and let us know. I want to see them. It'd be, because I'm curious because there's so many different ways to do raised beds. And my neighbor across the street, he's an engineer, and his are literally engineered, and they're beautiful and they're insane. They're amazing. So I want to get the blueprint for that one. Yes, nice to see you, Kenny. Always good to have you in here. Okay, so it is summertime. Now, I was out there yesterday and I got a little sunshine on my shoulders. I did not burn. I may burn a little bit initially if, I will put something sometimes on my skin if I remember, but oftentimes I don't. So I'm just being full disclosure on that. So here's how I want to approach this today. Second one went faster. Yeah, it's kind of like IKEA. Once you put something together from IKEA, it's easy to do the next one, right? So yeah. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate you. Yeah, I've been like out working in the garden all day, just threw myself together. So there's that. Okay. So we're out in the sun. So first of all, let's think about this. Winter time. I'm going to say most of you, because I am constantly in the sun. However, my tank, we've had this conversation about vitamin D, where your levels should be. And my vitamin D level, the last I tested, was in the 50s. And I'd really like to have that up over 70 is where ideally I would like to see it. It's ideally where I'd like to have my patients is up over 70. Most of you, if you, and I mentioned that to you, so many of you checked your numbers and then reached back out to me and were like, I never knew that. So, and your number was low and your doctor told you it was normal. So if you think about this, when we go into winter, you should be, so as we come into summer, let's start there. We're coming into summer. You should be thinking about filling your tank so it's overflowing with vitamin D, so to speak, really. So that you don't go into the fall when now's the time we can be outside. You can have less than, ample clothing on. So most of your skin is exposed. I know Kenny's going to probably give me a joke about that one. So next thing I know, there's a drone flying over my house. Anywho, so I want you to think about being outside and how that fuels you, how that fills your vitamin D tank. We cannot live with vitamin D. We need that nutrient for so many functions, for every cellular function in the body, including our brain. And vitamin D is actually one of these nutrients that if you are deficient in it, this is where your chronic health issues, your cancers come from. So every single cancer case is, well, first of all, it's a gut issue. We've had that conversation before, but since we're talking about vitamin D, it is a vitamin D deficiency. So you must if the easiest thing you can do is get your vitamin D levels up. That alone will improve your risk of cancer or your health or whatever it is that you have going on. Increasing your vitamin D levels will always, always benefit whatever that thing is. The best way to increase the vitamin D level is to be outside in the sun and with minimal clothing. Now, if you burn too easily, right? So I'm not here to say, listen, if you're, whiter than white, go out in, high noon and expose yourself and burn the heck out of yourself. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be smart about it. So if you burn, then use the early morning times, use the late afternoon times to get out there, to get that exposure on your skin without sunscreen. And we're going to talk about what sunscreen does because, again, our whole process that we go through here as, what we've been conditioned to do is slather this toxic chemical on our skin and then go outside and literally block the most important, it's a hormone, the most important nutrient or hormone that you could possibly get. So we don't want to do that. we want to maximize our body's capacity for health, and utilizing as many healthy, natural ways as we can that's really where it's going to benefit you. So I'm going to go back to gardening for a second because these are some good comments. Best raised beds has a shell of stones instead of wood or metal. Will have radiant heat for cool nights. This is why I plant a lot of things along the back of my house, because I get the western sun shines this way directly at the brick. And I get this greenhouse effect, this wonderful greenhouse effect on the back of my house. So anything along the back of my house does amazing when I grow it. So anytime you can take advantage of that. And, okay, so let's think about this. You're using the sun's energy to grow food, right? So we're talking about radiant heat from the sun. This is how your body works too. You have to use the sun's radiant energy to grow you, to heal your cells, to give your cells the energy they need to allow them to power you the way they should. So if we're going to use sunlight and use its radiant heat to grow food, then wouldn't it make sense that we would utilize that to maximize human potential, right? If you agree with me on that, drop a comment for me, because we utilize sunlight for our plants. We got to utilize it for ourselves. And you all know, also think about this. If there's not a lot of sunlight, plants don't grow very well, do they? Sunlight comes out, and then rain, sunshine. What is that? Hydration, sun energy, hydration, sun energy. We are humans. We are no different. So think about that. Stephanie says, I never remember to use sunscreen. When I do remember, I just use jojoba. Jojoba oil it is so good for the skin. And, I don't know, however, I feel like, does jojoba have natural sunscreen? I was saying in another video that I use a lot of coconut oil and shea butter. I make my own body butter with that. And just those two, the butter and the oil together, they have, I think shea butter has a natural 6 and coconut has a natural 4, I believe. Don't quote me on that. However, they have such great anti-aging properties. So the different nutrients that are in them are so good for the skin. So this is great. Jojoba oil not only provides natural moisturizer for the skin, but provides healing and anti-inflammatory elements through its natural substance called myristic acid, which is a fatty acid naturally occurring in plant oils. This oil has an SPF rating of 4. So there you go. So you don't need to go spending money on some toxic chemical as much as just use the natural stuff. So jojoba is great, and jojoba is nice and thick, so it does feel very nourishing as well. So Laura says, I have a lot of volunteers this year, from flowers to cabbage. For real, my broccoli, I have broccoli flowers. I have a field of broccoli flowers. I was out there yesterday and today just pulling the tips off and eating them. They're so sweet. They're so amazing. So I'm just like keeping that out there. I'm going to nibble on that as long as I can. And hopefully I can get my broccoli to replant itself. So yes, I'm giving you ideas, Kenny. Hey, Devil Dog, how are you? Welcome from Ohio. Nice to see you. Hey, Checked Off, how are you? I try to use a hat if I don't want to get my head sunburned. Yeah. And I do recommend you can buy these really nice wide brimmed hats. So it does protect the back of your neck. And you can get those hats that have the flaps too. Those are a little warm in my opinion. But some people like those. They help with bugs too. So, but if you can get a nice wide brim hat, you'll protect your shoulders, your neck, your ears. Got to protect your ears as well. And yes, coconut is a 4. That's what I thought. I thought coconut was a 4. And Devil Dog, I didn't go to Blocks. I haven't had time to get down there. And of course, I did not want to go there on a weekend. So, and because of the way my schedule is the next couple of weeks, I don't think I'm going to get down there before they sell out of all their stuff. So But there's a couple other really good places around here that I can find, the things that I'm looking for. So you gotta dig, right? Pun intended. Pun intended. Um, okay, so making that connection for you, we use the sun to grow our plants. Humans are no different. We need to make sure that we are getting that sunlight. So I wanted to just share a couple of studies with you. So sunscreens in general, if you don't already know, so one of the biggest things, they call it coral bleaching, and so it has a negative impact on biodiversity and functioning of the reef ecosystem, and its production of goods and services, so to speak. So this increasing worldwide phenomenon is associated with temperature anomalies, high irradiance, pollution, and bacterial diseases. And recently, it has been demonstrated that personal care products, including sunscreens, have an impact on aquatic organisms similar to that of other contaminants. So you notice here, personal care products. So this conversation, while I'm talking about sunscreen, we can also make this, bridge this gap into personal care products. So what kind of lotion are you using? Are you using any kind of lotion or shaving cream or perfumes? Any kind of, anything scenty that you're putting on your body. Those all have hormone disruptors, are what they're called. So they disrupt how your hormonal system works. And this is what we're putting into the water. It's getting into the fish. So before I go on to another study, I'll read you this results of this study where sunscreens cause the rapid and complete bleaching of hard corals, even at extremely low concentrations. The effects of sunscreen is due to organic ultraviolet filters, which are able to induce the lytic viral cycle in symbiotic zooanthellae with latent infections. Okay. I sound like Joe now from Garden State Gardeners. So Joe, if Joe were here, I want to have Joe pronounce this word here. So I'm not making fun of him. I love him dearly. Okay. And approximately 60% of coral reefs are currently threatened by several natural and anthropogenic impacts. Over the last 20 years, massive coral bleaching has increased dramatically, both in frequency and in its extent. And so we have to really pay attention to this. Now, there's also, you can get, it's called reef safe sunscreen. But there's a problem with that too. So this is why I'm so glad, Stephanie, you brought up about just using jojoba oil and that being a more natural oil, because these reef safe sunscreens have, let me go back to my tab. Hold on one second. Okay. Are there any environmentally and reef safe sunscreens? So despite numerous studies indicating that the primary active ingredient in chemical and physical sunscreens damage marine environments, some experts argue that further research is needed. They postulate that studies undertaken in lab environments may fail to capture conditions of the reef where pollutants are quickly dispersed and diluted. Now, there's also some other studies that I don't know. When was this study done? I couldn't find a date on this, but they did have some good information on what are some other, this is in 2022. So they have been able to take samples of reefs, samples of fish, samples of marine life, and actually find these chemicals in them. So this particular study is stating, or article is stating that, where was that? It's basically in a lab, but it's been discovered outside of the lab. So it's just, it's like, I don't know what kind of research they did to put this together, but so I agree with some of it and I disagree with some of it, but there's some more good in here. So there's chemical sunscreens, and these are the ones that we know mostly. They have chemicals called oxybenzone, butylparaben, and octinoxate. And these were actually identified in a 2008 study, and they were identified as harmful to the ecosystem as well as to humans. So researchers found that the chemicals can activate latent viral infections and in the symbiotic microalgae that the corals rely on for nutrition. Studies followed further demonstrated chemical sunscreens harmful impact on coral reefs and marine organisms. And in a 2015 study, we found that oxybenzone induces coral bleaching by lowering the temperature at which corals will bleach when exposed to prolonged heat stress. We also found that oxybenzone is genotoxic, meaning it damages coral DNA, as well as induces severe and lethal deformities. So, and then most alarmingly, we determined that oxybenzone also acts as an endocrine disruptor. So let me stop there for a second. Endocrine disruptor, that means it jacks up your hormonal system. It jacks up how you grow. Now, people take this stuff and slather it all over their children. This is where we get these young girls getting breasts at such a young age or starting their menstrual cycles super early. This is what happens in hormone disruption. So we have to stop the slathering of this toxic stuff on our children. If we want our kids to be healthier and happier, it causes inflammation. It will lend itself to any kind of like inflammatory brain issue, ADD, ADHD. So let's just stop, right? There's other ways that we can do this. Devil Dog Prepper says, I grew 90% of my garden from seed in my garage, went to blocks for a few I didn't have at work now until 6 a.m. Oh gosh, what'd you get at blocks? What was good there? I'm curious. I just have never had luck with seeds. I would love to learn how to do that. Rebel says humans are basically plants with emotions. We need sun, water, and nutrients and live symbiotically with bacteria, right? Yes. Just drop the mic on that one. And not only do we live symbiotically with bacteria, but we are trillions of we are more bacteria, we are more bug than we are human. So think about that. We're just a big pile of bugs, you guys. So we have to, be mindful of this. Yes. So particularly oxybenzone and octinoxate. And the MTHFR enzyme, of course, we all have our acronym of what we refer to that. This is called a genetic SNP is what it's called. And a lot of people will take the MTHFR and, call it the mother effer enzyme. Plays an important role in processing amino acids and methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. Aren't you proud to know how to pronounce that? I should. Said it a million times over the past 26 years. Deficiency needs conversion of homocysteine to methionine to methylate. Bang, Howie's doing his homework. Yes. So a lot of the conversion. So if you have an MTHFR defect, this means that you cannot make these conversions. And when you can't make those conversions, everything can go south. So you can have one copy of MTHFR from your mother or one from your father, or one from each parent. If you got one copy from each parent, that is called homozygous. And that means that you have a 70% deficiency in making these conversions. If you have a single copy, that's heterozygous. That's what I have. I do have this gene, and I am heterozygous for MTHFR. I am 30% deficient. So I take nutrients that are methylated. So see this word here, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. I take nutrients that are methylated. I take methylfolate. And so you can do that. You can, we make the assumption that over 50% of people have this genetic SNP. It's so common these days. And, we're finding out more about it. This would be and we're getting kind of away from sunshine, but I'm going to leap it back to this. But this is where people, they think about like my grandfather. I never knew him. He was 52 years old and he dropped dead. Okay. So massive heart attack, was just at the doctor. Doctor said he was, fine, clean bill of health. And then he drops dead. So he has lots of stress. Well, I'm going to guess that since I have this methylation gene, that I probably got it from my mom's side of the family. So that's where I'm guessing that comes from, because that's the typical story of like, how do you get a clean bill of health and then you just drop dead? You probably had the methylation gene and didn't know it and didn't know how to feed it or fuel it. So making sure you have the proper nutrients. And again, when we talk about sunshine, getting vitamin D, vitamin D is a cofactor in all of these pathways. So we have to, get that vitamin D in there. Let's see, where are we? Hi, Checked Off. How are you? It seems like if the kids get outside early in spring, they are tan enough to be fine in the summer sun. Yeah. So think about that. Like, yeah, the early spring sunshine is not as strong. So you're getting that slow exposure, and then your body is, it's adapted. And now you just put layer after layer of vitamin D and sun exposure on top of it. So yeah, that's a great point. So Howie, do we need to increase our MTHFR? No, you don't increase MTHFR. You have it or you have not it. This is a genetic test. So if you got your homocysteine checked, Stephanie, or anybody else, if you get your homocysteine checked and it's high, chances are you have this methylation gene because you need the folate. So let's go back to Howie's chemistry here, biochemistry, is that you need this enzyme, this methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, to convert homocysteine to methionine to methylate. But if you lack this through having the MTHFR gene, you're not going to make the conversion of homocysteine. Therefore, homocysteine is going to build up. And homocysteine is a marker for cardiovascular health. So the higher homocysteine is, the worse your cardiovascular health is. Like, we got to get that homocysteine down. It should be down below 9. So again, looking at your numbers, do you know your homocysteine? Does your doctor even test for homocysteine? So you can sort of back into this, do I have MTHFR? If you have, if you're looking at that kind of family history. Cancer also is an MTHFR typically. Any kind of brain issues, brain disorders. Of course, now everything's so inflammatory, and from all the forever chemicals, we could go way down some rabbit holes. But if homocysteine is high, you can betcha that MTHFR, you have it. You have either one or 2 copies, but you can do a genetic test to see if you have it. And so, as I say, you can back end it. A lot of times when I'm working with patients, again, after doing this for 26 years, when I'm working with somebody on their nutrition and I'm just hearing their story, I'll go, I'm just going to guarantee, like infertility is another one. Most of the time infertility is an MTHFR defect. So going back, Stephanie, where are we here? Let me go back to you. Going back to this. It's not necessarily a deficiency, it's a defect. It's a genetic defect. We call it a SNP. So again, you either have it or you don't. You have one copy from your parents, from one parent, or one copy from the other, or one from each. So that's how that works. It is you, or it is not you. But it's in those, right? So I hope that makes sense. It's a gene that then we come in and we bypass it through certain nutritional strategies. And that's why if you take methylated folate, you're going to bypass this genetic roadblock, if you will. It allows you to take a detour so that then you can fuel nutritionally the proper pathways that will help keep the homocysteine down, help improve your cardiovascular and your brain health. So does that make sense? I hope I explained that. Thank you, Howie. I did okay on that. Good. Okay. All right. So yeah, sometimes it's like, it can get a little confusing. So, so stuff, listen to Doc Paula. Yeah. But thank you for that insight, Howie, because that's actually a really important component. And now you don't always have to have high homocysteine in order to have the methylation gene. There can be other things going on as well. So like I said, I think it's a good idea to have it tested so that, you can have it tested, or we are all deficient in B vitamins anyway. So just take the methylated form. Like that's the easy way out, right? Which is totally fine. Just assume you have it and assume you're not absorbing any of your folate. It's like, okay, if you eat spinach, you're only going to absorb, let's see, I have 1 copy. So I'm only going to absorb about 70% of the folate. If I had 2 copies, 1 from each parent, I would only absorb about 30% of that folate. Now, to let you know how important that is, we're going on folate. But we're going with it because it's Sunday Night Live, right? We can get back to vitamin D in this, but this is really important to understand too. The important thing with folate is it is the one nutrient. This is why with pregnant women taking a prenatal, it's 1,000 micrograms in the prenatal is what was found to help with birth defects. The very first thing to form in utero is the brain and nervous system. And if mom is deficient in her B vitamins, especially her folate, then that baby is at a dramatically high risk for birth defects. Okay. So the nervous system controls and coordinates and directs the baby to form. So it's 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms, 2 legs, and all of that. So like, let's say a cleft palate or a cleft lip, that is a midline defect from the brain and nervous system caused by deficiency in folate. If there's any kind of like a spina bifida, which is this little spinal defect, which I see those small ones on x-ray on people. Big ones would be the spine is open, the baby dies. Like that's people think of spina bifida that way. So that's the midline did not close. Same thing with the cleft palate. The midline didn't close. They have to be surgically adapted. So there's a lot of other ways to look at, do you have MTHFR or not? What kind of balance B12 to folate? Can you be more specific, like ratios or how much folate? I usually recommend, so a lot of people, they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll take folic acid. But folic acid doesn't have the absorption rate that folate does, that methyl tetrahydrofolate does, that methylated folate does. So you want methylated folate for maximum absorption. That's how you're going to get your greatest benefit from that folate. So I would typically recommend, so again, I'll use myself as an example. If I have MTHFR from one parent, I take about 400 micrograms of methyl folate every day, if not more, because I do a shake, a nutritional shake, and then I might take a supplement pack a little later in the day. But in general, I'm getting anywhere from 400 to 800 micrograms of methylfolate. That would go, if you have 2 copies, that could go 800 to 1200 a day safely. Because, B12 and folate are water soluble too. So you're not really going to hurt yourself with that. So, and you are welcome, Howie. I hope I answered that question. I didn't quite understand the question, but I hope I clarified what you were looking for. Great conversation though. This is fabulous. Could literally devote a whole show to methylation and methyl tetrahydrofolate. So going back to, let's jump back over to vitamin D for a minute, in that if you, one of the best ways to, and I hate to use the word protect yourself from the sun, because we need to protect ourselves from not being in the sun. That's what we need to protect ourselves from. We have to get this exposure for maximum health. You will sleep better. You will have more energy during the day. Your brain will function better. Your digestion works better. It is everything. Prepper 101. This is more wife's homemade business for water soluble. Okay, great. Thank you, Howie. Good. I'm so glad. There is, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So I've got a workshop that I did on cancer. And what I'm starting to do, just as a quick sidebar, is I'm starting to take, I don't even know how many PowerPoints I have that I've done over the years, but I'm starting to take those and record those into workshop format. And then those will be up on my YouTube channel. So then I'm just doing the simple ones for now. A couple weeks ago, I did how to choose supplements, how to choose a healthy supplement. And then I think the next one I'm going to do is on label reading. So I think I'll do that one. So this is my cancer one. This is really good. Here, vitamin D. Let's see. Okay. Evidence of vitamin D's protective effect against cancer is compelling. For more than 50 years, documentation in the medical literature suggests regular sun exposure is associated with substantial decreases in death rates from certain cancers and a decrease in overall cancer death rate. So it actually saves you from cancer. Recent research suggests that this is a causal relationship that acts through the body's vitamin D metabolic pathways. For instance, some evidence points to a prostate, breast, and colon cancer belt in the United States, which lies in northern latitudes under more cloud cover than other regions during the year. Rates for these cancers are 2 to 3 times higher than in sunnier areas. So really interesting. Although excessive, I don't know if I can share this and have it. See if I can share this. My doc says I'm too low in glutathione and too high on, what's Figlu? What is Figlu? I'm going to Google it. I don't know what Figlu is. Should I know that? Formiminoglutamate acid? An intermediate metabolite in the process of converting histidine into glutamic acid accumulates when there isn't enough folate available. There you go. So you're positive for MTHFR, Stephanie. I'll tell you that right now. So look at that sleuthing. A test for folate deficiency measures so you'll be deficient in folate if you have MTHFR. A test for folate deficiency measures the amount of Figlu excreted in urine after the histidine load. High levels of Figlu in urine can indicate a lack of folic acid or increased alcohol consumption. Other conditions that can cause high Figlu in urine include pregnancy and birth control use. So are you pregnant, Stephanie? Yeah. So you're deficient in folate because this Figlu is too low. Which absolutely means that you are methyl positive. So be nicer to your liver, Steph. Yeah. Yes. N-acetylcysteine. But you need methylfolate. Stephanie, I'll send you a link to which one I would use. But basically you're on my online store, and every product that Metagenics uses, if there's folate to be used in it, it's always the methylated form, because it's always the methylated form. Bentley's saying hi. Because they recognize that most people have this deficiency. So that's what I was saying. It can show up in many other ways. So I would definitely start utilizing that. Okay, so hold on one second. Let's see. Can I go into screen? Go into video file. No, not video file. Let's go into, okay, hold on, give me a moment. I'm trying something here. And And let's see if I can make it work. Presentations, go here, cancer. Okay, hold on. Let's close her out because then I can show you the slide here and that'll make more sense for you. Okay, she's uploading into the portal. I figured this out last time. I was like, oh, this is cool. Okay, all right. Getting it rolling. So this is actually just when I put this cancer lecture together years ago, I went digging for, okay, add to stage. There we go. Okay. All right, now, how do I advance? Okay, here we go. All right. I'm just going to blaze through this, but here, what was that one? Looks good. So beneficial nutrients. Yeah, you can, these are, see, I need to go, it didn't quite launch properly into here, but let's go into garlic, phytochemicals, and all three. Yeah, this is a really good one. I should put this into workshop format for you guys. You'll love it. Okay, so here's more vitamin D. Okay, although excessive sun exposure may give rise to skin cancers, researchers as early as 1936 were aware that skin cancer patients, now pay attention to this, have reduced rates of other cancers. One researcher estimated moderate sunning would prevent 30,000 annual cancer deaths in the United States. That was stunning to me, right? So basically, people who have skin cancer have higher levels of vitamin D and less rates of any other cancers. So, but when we talk about skin cancer, let's talk about, well, how do we get skin cancer then? It's not the sun exposure. It's the shit you put on your skin and then go out and bake it into your skin. That's what it is. So it's these chemicals that are going onto our skin. We're baking it in. It's going into our bloodstream and it's causing all kinds of issues with our health. So, sun is not the enemy here. It's all the garbage that we put on our skin. So, keep that in mind as you go through this, or the next time you think to yourself, oh, I can't get sun exposure. I don't want to get cancer. I can't be in the sun because of skin cancer. Well, what are you putting on your skin? That's what's causing your skin cancer, not the sun. So that's a really important piece. Okay, I'm going to take that. Let's see if there's any more else on there. Always get adjusted, cruciferous vegetables. Let's see what this major biologic function of vitamin D is to maintain normal blood levels of calcium and phosphorus. By promoting calcium absorption, vitamin D helps to form and maintain strong bones. It is not milk, much to your dismay. Vitamin D also works in concert with a number of other vitamins, minerals, and hormones to promote bone mineralization. Without vitamin D, bones can become thin, brittle, and misshapen. Vitamin D's sufficiency prevents rickets in children and osteomalacia in adults, two forms of skeletal diseases that weaken bones. But here's the thing, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance from the government, the reason I think it's like 400 units a day of vitamin D is what the government recommends for you. It's literally just enough to prevent rickets, just enough. It's not enough to promote good health. That's what we have to realize. And that's where a lot of times, working with me and, a patient will say, well, that's a really high dose of whatever the nutrient is, and I'm like, yeah, because you're deficient. Well, what about the RDA? Because we get into our head, oh, the RDA. Well, the RDA is just enough to keep you from getting disease. So do you want to be just above the disease threshold, or do you want to be at maximum optimum health threshold? That's where we all need to be, is way, way above the basic baseline of chronic disease. Howie says, it's time to graze in the food forest for young plants, yield low in oxidants, oxalates, that I'm taking my perfect aminos. We all bleed red, sea earthlings. Thank you so much for being here, Howie. And I appreciate your input and your insight and generating such a wonderful conversation. So much love and mad respect to you as well, my friend. Thanks for being here. Have a great week. Good to see you. So doc put me on several vitamins, including B vitamins. The B vitamin combo I'm taking has 400 micrograms of calcium, L5 methyl tetrahydrofolate. Bang, right on, Stephanie. That's exactly it. But you could take 800 to 1200 safely. Based on what you said, if that other, and what you do is you take a high dose and then you retest and you see where the numbers are. And then if you need to come down, then you can come down. But because that's water soluble, I would probably, personally, if that were me, I would probably go 800. A minimum of 800 is where I would go. But for me personally. So, but you can ask your doc too and see what he recommends. But if you're deficient in that fig glue, that makes all the sense in the world that you need, a much higher dose of folate. So, when I have people who have the methylation gene, I will put them on 800 to 1200. He's out there barking at the children in the backyard. I sincerely don't believe man-made D is the be-all end all. I do believe the natural sun provides even more benefits than just D. So it's 100% correct. Happy Mac is our best source of vitamin D is from the sun. It's the greatest place we can get it. We can get some vitamin D from some food sources and fish, but our best bet is from the sun. And however, let's just say, and when you say man-made vitamin D, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you're probably, if you're talking about a supplement, but let's talk about synthetic D versus a naturally derived D. So the vitamin D that I usually recommend, it comes from lanolin from sheep. So yes, it was made by man, but it is not synthetic. So it's not some, chemical ingredient that is being, pushed on you as a nutrient. Now, if you go get vitamin D, if your doctor says you're deficient and I want you to take this prescription, and they'll prescribe vitamin D, and it's usually 50,000 units in one dose per week. That's usually synthetic. So I have a 10,000 D that does not require a prescription. It does have vitamin K in it, which is a cofactor for absorption. It's 10,000. So I have you take one a day. Better than taking 10,000 or 50,000 in a week. I'd rather have you take it slowly over the course of the week. It is fat soluble, so it does get stored. But I just prefer taking it a little bit each day, which, 10,000 a day is actually, in my opinion, better than 10,000 a day of naturally derived lanolin vitamin D is better than 50,000 by prescription of synthetic derived. So I hope that makes sense. And yes, it is downstream. I do believe it's necessary. If you all remember, I had a friend of mine on, a cardiologist, and he believes that no one should take vitamin D, but he lives in Arizona, and I was like, Jack, but you live in Arizona, like we live in Michigan. And as you just heard from that one slide, that one study, that, the people in the northern belts have higher risks and higher incidences of cancers. And so, we do need to, when the sun goes down and it's fall and it's winter and we can't get that sunshine, then you've got to be eating foods high in D and you got to be supplementing. So, but I agree with you that the number one source should be the sun. So you should not be covering up and slathering garbage on. I'm supposed to take that twice a day, but I often forget the second dose, but I definitely feel better. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're getting your 800 a day. And listen, if you're supposed to take it twice a day, just take two at once. If you can't remember, you'll be fine. That's usually what I do. If I'm like, I know I'm going to forget to take this dose later in the day. I just take two at the same time. So it's usually fine. Because you also don't want to take it too late in the day, because B vitamins can have a little surge of energy. So you want to avoid that. So there's Bentley scratching his collar. Does he do that every single time we go live? God, I wish you could see him. He stopped and looked at me like, what are you looking at? Like, you noisy beast. Okay. I hope I answered all your questions about vitamin D. I hope that you got some insights about why you should be out in the sun. And then, again, get out there as little clothing as possible. Just put a pair of shorts on, shorts in in a tank top, and just go outside and get that exposure for a minimum of about 10 to 20 minutes. Again, if you burn, make sure you're flanking the low sides of the sun, not high noon, but get out there and get some sun exposure. You will start to feel a shift in your energy, your sleep. You will notice if you have bags under your eyes, those will start to clear up. Vitamin D is literally the fountain of youth. We need it for everything. You'll start to think more clearly. So stop slathering shit on your skin. Get out there and get it naturally. So, all right, you guys, I hope I answered all your questions. I love the engagement today. Thank you so much. I am not sure I'm going to be live next week. I might do a pre-recorded Sunday. So look out for that. And then I'll have a pre-recorded Monday because it will be Memorial Day. But I usually come live anyway from my phone from the parade. So I definitely won't be live in a show, but I might just go live because I love Memorial Day. It's the kickoff to summer. It's such an honor to be able to just, be out and celebrating our fallen soldiers. So I hope you all are on deck to do something that is honoring the people who fought for our freedoms in this country. So, yeah, I know. I don't know how else to say it. I'm glad it landed. So the next time you see somebody, especially slathering on their kids, that's what you're going to think about, right? You're going to want to, what Dr. Paula says. I should put that on a t-shirt, shouldn't I? So, all right, you guys, I think that's it. I hope to see you all very soon. I'll see you next week in some capacity. And I love you all so much. Please share this out so that we can get to 1,200. So like I say, I'm at 1197 right now. So let's get it up to 1,200 at least by the end of tonight. I appreciate it so much. And thank you all for being here and helping me grow. I could not have done it without you. So, all right, you guys, have an amazing rest of your evening. We'll talk to you soon. See you later. Love you all. Bye.